I'm bigcal and welcome to my world. Today I want to do a revision of a video I did about 2 years ago. It was my top 10 most wanted games list, and this list wasn't a case of the rarest and most expensive games. It's like, I need these for my collection as a collector, blah blah blah. These were games that I just wanted for my collection and would like to have gotten, fairly quickly because I wanted to play them mainly. So I did the list, and it's been about 2 years. So now I wanted to update that list by going through the old list, seeing if I got anything from it, and doing a new list. So let's first just go through what the old list was and if I got anything from it. So I'm just going to load up a nice texty document onto my computer here. So number 10 was, a bit of a cheat because there were two games on there. WCW Super Brawl for the Super Nintendo and WCW Main Event for the Game Boy. And I doubled these up because two WCW wrestling games and they're both American only, which means they never came out here in PAL regions, which is why I want them mainly, because they're very difficult to get, and I would very much like to add them to my collection because I collect wrestling games. It's one of the things I do. I have well over 100 now, so I would like to add those to the collection. Sadly, have not added them yet. Main Event, I can get hold of. I have seen it on eBay. It's just going a little bit more than what I want to pay for it. It goes down in price. I'll pick it up. Super Brawl, virtually impossible to get over here. I would have to import it, and it would cost a ton of money just for delivery from America. So it's on my wanted list, don't have it. Next up was Luigi's Mansion for the GameCube. Yes, it was a launch title for the system. I remember playing it back in the day when my brother got a GameCube. Fantastic game. I've got Luigi's Mansion 2, Dark Moon on the 3DS. Really fun, different but fun, and I'm very much looking forward to Luigi's Mansion 3 coming out at the end of October. Got that on pre-order. So, did I get this game? Yes! Yes, I did. Finally picked it up. Of course, you will have seen it in a pickups video at some point. Finally picked it up. It's one of those games that just kept going up in price. Like, no, stop it! I want to buy it, but it keeps going up. And finally just like, fine, I will bloody well buy it. It goes for like £20 to £25 these days, apparently. Yeah, I think I got it for a bit less than that. I think I only paid £18 for it. Yeah, so I was happy enough to pay that before it shot up in price more. Yep, still a very fun game. Glad to finally have added it to the collection. So number 8 was Excitebot's Trick Racing for the Wii. And this was something of a sequel to Excite Truck on the Wii, which is part of the Excite Bike series. Excite Truck on the Wii was a launch title in one of the regions, can't remember which, but I didn't get it till a few years later. Hugely fun game. I have done a review on that, if I remember. I'll put a link down below in the description. Fantastic, fantastic game. The sequel, instead of trucks, is sort of like bots and robot-y type things, and added a swinging mechanic where you like go onto a rail, you swing around and fly off. Some people like it, some people hate it. Personally, I've never played it. Why? Again, like the WCW games, never came out in PAL regions. So I'd have to get the American version of it. I have a still sealed freeloader disc for the Wii to play region free. It's still sealed. I think I mentioned it in the first video. Yeah, he's just waiting for that one game. Don't have it yet because again I would have to import it from America, and that costs money. Yeah, and I don't like spending more money than I have to. So the next game then was Dragon Ball Z Attack of the Saiyans on the DS. Love Dragon Ball Z, and I love this game. And I played it originally on the R4 card for the DS back when I couldn't really afford to buy new games or anything, so I got the R4 card, downloaded, played whatever I wanted. Yeah, and the game kept shooting up in price again. I looked at it, it's like, when the hell did it get this expensive? It's like, I've always kind of put it off because I didn't want to pay too much for it. And of course, I did finally buy it. Can't remember exactly how much I paid for it now, but yeah, there it is. Oh, excellent RPG game set in the Dragon Ball Z universe. It plays just kind of like a traditional, very traditional RPG, but with Dragon Ball characters set in the Dragon Ball universe, Dragon Ball attacks, my eyes twitching, yeah. But yeah, it's a fantastic game, one of my all-time favourites on the DS. Finally picked it up, and it has again shot up in price. I had a look a couple of days ago to see what this was going for now. It was like £40 on average. No, it should be much cheaper than that so people can buy it and play it and love it as much as I do. And then maybe, just maybe, we might eventually get the fucking sequel with Freezer. But no, that's probably never going to happen, is it? Yeah, so next was WrestleMania, the arcade game for the PlayStation 1. Mainly wanted this because it was the final PAL wrestling game that I needed for my collection. And of course I did indeed pick it up. Got it nice and cheap. Again, I kept looking at this and it was just like going for an obscene price of like 20 odd quid or something at the time. Did not pay that for it. Again, don't quite remember what I paid for it, but it was less than what it was actually going for, so I'm very happy with that. I enjoy it, it's a fun game, one I played when I was a kid, and like I said, it was the final PAL PlayStation 1 wrestling game that I needed to pick up for my collection, so now I can focus on Japanese and any American exclusive titles. Yay, that'll be fun, trying to find all those and collect them. Yeah. Okay, what was next? Oh yes, Tai 3, Night of the Quickan. I think I might have pronounced that wrong in the previous video because for some reason it was always in my head as Night of the Quickening or the Quicken something. Yeah. But yeah, PS2 platformer, I think it was on Xbox, maybe GameCube, not entirely sure. But again, this never came out in PAL regions except for Australia. So it's either imported an NTSC version or getting it from Australia, and it's incredibly expensive getting the PAL version from Australia, but I want the PAL version because I'm in a PAL region, all my consoles play PAL. Yeah, so that one's still way above the price I will be willing to pay for it. Then there was a PS3 game, The Godfather, the Don's Edition. I love the Godfather films, well the first two anyway, third one's watchable. And there have been some fantastic games based on it, mainly The Godfather, originally released on PC, Xbox, PS2, got a PSP port, avoid that one. And then for next gen systems, the Wii, the PS3 and the Xbox 360, they all got their own version. So, can't remember what the 360 version was, but obviously the PS3 was the Don's Edition, the Wii version was the Black Hand Edition, and they have unique content for those versions. So I have the Wii version, it was a launch title over here, and it is one of my favourite Wii games. It's fantastic, it's like Grand Theft Auto, but with less to do sort of in the overworld and more based on the Godfather story, and it's fantastic. So I wanted the PS3 version because I didn't have a 360 at the time. And yeah, it's one of those games that again just kept seeming to going up to a really silly price for what it is. Definitely managed to get it for a lot cheaper, so I'm happy to finally add it to my collection. Yes, there it is. Includes the Corleone expansion pack. Not entirely sure what it is. Now, the only problem with this is I haven't been able to play it yet, because a lot of it requires the 6-axis motion controls. And my original PS3 controller is dead. It's broken, the analog, triggers are broken, they just randomly press when they want, and sometimes they don't press at all. So I got a cheaper one, a brand new one still, and the 6-axis on that no longer works. So I can't play this game yet until I buy another PS3 controller. But, yep, finally got it in the old collection. Next was something of a bit of an expensive game, and that is Stubbs the Zombie in Rebel Without a Pulse for the original Xbox. It was an exclusive for the Xbox, it came out on PC as well, but yeah, console exclusive, and it's one of those games that again just keeps creeping up in price, and I was always against paying for it. Luckily, I had a few DVDs, Blu-rays and the odd game or two to trade into Sex. So I traded that in, got a voucher and was able to pick it up nice and cheap, so it didn't really cost me much at all. But this is going for about 40 quid now, and even higher depending on what websites you look on. But yeah, it is a really, really fun game. I think I did a video specifically on this as almost a holy grail for me, because it was the last game on my Xbox want list. It's a more expensive and sought after title, so very happy to have added that. And number 2 on the list was Pokemon Soul Silver for the DS. Generation 2 Pokemon, the original Silver game, was the first Pokemon I ever played. It's my personal favourite. I love that generation, love those games. The remasters on the DS were fantastic. It was again one of those that I played on the R4 card back in the day, but I've always wanted obviously to buy it on physical. I went to the retro gaming market last year or so. I wanted to pick it up. I couldn't find a single copy of Silver anywhere in that place. All I could find was gold, Heart Gold. So I bought that. But yeah, I still wanted Soul Silver. And then earlier this year I went to the gaming market and yes, picked up Soul Silver finally, so I now have Heart Gold and Soul Silver. So that's awesome. Yeah, fantastic game, my favourite in the series, and the remake, the remaster or whatever you want to call it on the DS here is wonderful. And number 1 was Super Mario RPG Legend of the 7 Stars for the Super Nintendo. I wanted this because it never came out over here, so I wanted the NTSC version to give it a go and to play it. But yeah, it costs a bloody fortune to import, and it's pretty expensive in America as well. So it's not the cheapest game to get hold of, and it's not quite the easiest to get hold of here in the UK, because again I have to import it. So I obviously haven't bought this, but I don't mind too much because it was released on the Super Nintendo Mini. So I can access it and can play it, and I'm not all that bothered about getting a physical cart for it these days. Yeah. So, yeah, not too bad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 out of 10 from my most wanted list 2 years ago. I now own. Let's put those to the side, and let's move on now to what my new top 10 most wanted games list is going to be. Got the list up there, so let's get started. Number 10. The first of only 2 repeats from the previous list. There are only 4 to choose from, but 2 have dropped off. So number 10 is still the WCW games. Super Brawl on the Super Nintendo, Main Event on the Game Boy, because wrestling games, American only, want them for my bloody collection. I will have them soon. Maybe. Main Event is probably the first one that I will get, because I mentioned earlier, it is fairly easy still to get hold of, just a little bit too pricey. So that's my number 10. Number 9. And the second of just the 2 from the previous list that carries over is Excitebots Trick Racing for the Wii. Again, it's NTSC only, so I have to import it. It will cost me a little bit, but one of these days I will decide to finally buy it, because I really want to play it, because I love Excite Trucks so much on the Wii. So I'm hoping this will give me as much fun as that game did. Number 8. Mario Kart 7 on the 3DS. Yes, this is one of my most wanted because I don't own it yet, and it's the only Mario Kart game that I do not own right now. Excluding, of course, the arcade ones, because obviously I don't own any arcade machines, nor will I be able to afford an arcade machine. Yeah, I own obviously the one with the Super Nintendo, the N64, the GameCube, the Wii, the Wii U, the Switch, and the Game Boy Advance, and the DS, but I do not own the 3DS version, so it's the only one missing from my collection. But it's one of those games that just does not lower in price. It still goes for like £30 brand new, which is roughly the cost of what a new game on the 3DS would usually be. I think it got added to the Nintendo Selects series thing in America, so it goes for like $15 or whatever it is there. You know, that we get the alternative £15. Nope, not in that selection over here in the UK. Still goes for full price. So yeah, I need to wait for a big price drop on this one before I finally pick it up. Number 7. Power Rangers on the Super Nintendo. It is a side-scrolling beat-em-up game based on Power Rangers. And I distinctively remember playing this one as a kid. There's a couple of them on the Super Nintendo. One goes after the film, some different ones, but just the basic Power Rangers one is the one that I played. I specifically remember that one. Side-scrolling beat 'em up, and it's supposed to be quite fun still as well. So I would like to get hold of that again for nostalgia reasons, and hopefully I will still very much enjoy it. But for some reason, the Power Rangers games, especially on the Super Nintendo, again, not the cheapest of games. So I'm going to have to look out for a bargain on that one before I pick it up. Number 6. Dragon Warrior Monsters 2 on the Game Boy Color. Love the Dragon Quest series, which is what this is. Dragon Warriors, what it was called when it came over to the West originally. And the Monsters series is a spin-off, and it's kind of like Pokemon, where you capture monsters that you normally fight in the main series, and you raise them, level them up like Pokemon, but instead of them evolving, what you have to do to get new monsters is to breed them. So you breed a male monster with a female monster, completely different monsters. They will mate, and depending on which two you breed, you'll get a new monster out of it. And you can also take over certain abilities from one monster. You can inherit them basically. It's really, really cool, and you have to keep breeding them and getting rarer and rarer monsters in order to get higher level or higher power. Very fun game. I own the original on the Game Boy, it's fantastic, but I do want the sequel on Game Boy Color. But of course, it never came out here in the UK, so I will have to import it, and again, it is not cheap, so that's a bit of a pain in the ass, but I definitely want it. Although it would be nice if we got, I don't know, a release on the Switch or something. We're getting the first 3 Dragon Quest games finally coming over to the Switch in English, so you never know, it could be a possibility, but until then I want the original cartridge for the Game Boy Color. Number 5. Super Princess Peach for the Nintendo DS. Yes, Princess Peach got her own game, a platforming game, and from what I've seen of it and the little bit I did play on the R4 card, it was fantastic. It was really, really good. This time Peach has to save Mario, and she has many different abilities based on her emotions, such as anger. And it's just a very fun, very good experience. It's a platformer not that many people really know about. It's definitely come to light more in the last year or so. But yeah, I don't think many people bought it originally, so there's fewer copies out there, but people are realising it's a very good game. And of course the price is going up, so I haven't actually seen it in the wild to pick it up, so it's a case I'll probably have to go online for it, and then I'll just have to search for the cheapest price and hope that it's not more than what I want to pay for it. But yeah, really cool game. I definitely want to add this to my collection within the next year if possible. Number 4. Attack of the Killer Tomatoes on the NES. Yeah, so I think there was a horror film, the 80s maybe even the 70s, got Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, or Tomatoes, if you're from that part of the world. And then for some reason they turned it into a children's cartoon, and of course it then got video game releases on the NES, Game Boy as well, might have got some other platform releases, but yeah, I remember watching the cartoon as a kid, really liking it, and it turns out there's a video game for it for the NES, and apparently it's pretty good. So of course the game is fucking expensive, isn't it? I'm looking at, £70 to £80 for the cartridge alone. Yeah, but I do really want it for my collection because A, it's apparently a pretty good game, so that's good for a movie or TV license. and B, nostalgia reasons, because I grew up with the cartoon and I loved it, so I would very much like this to be added to my collection one day. But yeah, it's going to take a big bargain price for me to eventually get it. Maybe. Unless I'm in the lottery, in which case I'm buying it complete in box and fuck it. But the odds of me winning the lottery are the odds of me buying it right now at the normal price. Not good. Number 3. Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, for, you guessed it, the Nintendo 64. This is one of the few major Kirby games I have yet to play. Because, it's not exactly the cheapest cartridge, going about 50, 60, maybe even £70 just for the cartridge alone right now. I'm not entirely sure, it probably was released somewhere on a virtual console, but I can't get it on the Wii anymore. The Wii U, I think if it is on there, I would only be able to get it now by buying a points card or something. I don't think you can pay anymore with just money. It has to be Nintendo points or whatever they use. I think that's the case anyway. But yeah, I want it. An original cartridge would be very nice. Some people have mixed thoughts on it, but from what I've seen, it looks like a fantastic game where you combine powers this time. So you can take in 2 enemies and combine their powers for a whole new enemy. It looks like a really, really fun 2.5D platformer, basically. A lot of people have sort of compared it to the Klonoa series, and those are fun games as well, so that's even more added incentive for me to want it. So, big fan of the Kirby games. This is the only one I really haven't played ever, so I would like to own it. Just, again, need it to go lower in price. Wish I was rich. Number 2. So, cheating a little here because I'm going to talk about 3 games, but they're all part of the same series on the same console, and that is Twisted Metal 1, Twisted Metal 3 and Twisted Metal 4. Love the Twisted Metal series. Twisted Metal 2 is one of my all-time favourite games, probably my second favourite game ever behind Super Mario World, and obviously my favourite PS1 game ever. Twisted Metal Small Brawl, not that many people talk about this one. It was only an NTSC release, I believe, probably released in Japan as well, but we never got it here in the UK. I originally played it on copy, but I now own an official copy of it. It's wonderful. Twisted Metal Head On the PSP is sort of the unofficial true sequel to Twisted Metal 2. Fantastic. The last game, Twisted Metal on the PS3, was fantastic as well. They really brought the original essence of what people liked about Twisted Metal and updated it for a newer console. There was also Twisted Metal Black. I do own that on the PS2. Lots of people go to that one as being one of the best. It's never clicked with me, sadly. But yeah, Twisted Metal 1, 3 and 4, I want to add those to complete my Twisted Metal collection. Twisted Metal 1 is available for me here in the UK. It's not fantastic, it doesn't hold up nearly as well as the second one does, but I still want it for the collection. But that one's, again, creeping up in price. I can play it right now on the PlayStation Classic Mini, so that is an option for me, and I think I own it digitally as well on the PS3 and the PSP, so that's cool, I can play it, but I want a physical version. 3 and 4, however, not released in the UK, so those I would have to import from America, and again, that would cost a lot of money. They are not as good as Twisted Metal 2 because Single Track was no longer developing them due to a fallout or whatever with Sony. And I did play these on copy back in the day. They're just not quite the same, but again, I want them for my Twisted Metal collection, damn it. Number 1. So, lastly, my number 1 most wanted game currently is Paper Mario The 1,000 Year Door for the Nintendo GameCube. Yeah, Paper Mario games, the original on the N64, I don't own physical, but I do have it on the Wii U Virtual Console. Fun game, haven't played through it nearly enough yet, but it is very fun. Super Paper Mario on the Wii, I'm a really big fan of. That was my first in the series, so that sort of explains that, but I really like what they did with it. While the Paper Mario series going on hasn't been exactly the same, and a lot of people hate on them for that, I enjoyed... Christ, which one was it? One of them, anyway, that came after, can't remember which one it is. And then it did, of course, sort of spin off as well into the Mario and Luigi RPG series. Those are more true, I guess, to the Paper Mario series, just without the paper visuals. But yeah, the Thousand Year Door is hailed as being like a spectacularly fantastic RPG game, especially for Mario. So I do very much want this, but again, it's not the cheapest of games. It goes for about £65 right now. Do not want to pay that for it, clearly. I did say to myself last time I was at Retro Gaming Market, if I saw it for about £50, I was going to pick it up. But of course, I never saw it for that cheap, so yeah. Just waiting for a price drop on that, but I would very much like to get that the next time I go to the Retro Gaming Market, if it is at a good price. So those are my current top 10 most wanted games list, as well as the revised version of the list I did from 2 years ago, and showing off what I'd already gotten. So let me know in the comments down below what you thought of the video, what you think to the games I picked up, and what you think to my current top 10, and if you think I will be able to get any or all of them within the next year. I'm bigcal, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.